My name is Catherine. I'm 37 years old, and I used to believe that if you paid close enough attention, love would feel safe. My husband threw my birthday gift back at me. You always get it wrong, he said. You don't know me at all. It was the necklace he had pointed at months ago. I caught it. The chain wrapped around my fingers, cold and delicate, the blue stone flashing under the living room light like it was confused about how it ended up here. I didn't say anything. I just walked into my home office and notarized one document. Then I left his car registration on the kitchen island. And when he noticed what was different on it the next morning, the room went dead silent. We'd been married 9 years. 9 anniversaries, 9 birthdays, 9 Christmas mornings of me trying to decode a man who insisted I was fluent in a language he never taught me. Back in July, we were at an outdoor craft market, the kind he loves. Handmade leather journals, artisan coffee beans, live acoustic music drifting through summer air. We stopped at a jewelry booth. He picked up a silver necklace with a deep blue stone pendant, held it up to the light, smiled. Look at how beautiful this is, he said. He turned it in his fingers, studying the craftsmanship. Then he put it back with a soft, maybe someday. He lingered, picked it up again, examined it one more time. I made a mental note. The following week, I went back alone and bought it. Had it wrapped at that boutique downtown he always admires. Embossed paper, hand-tied silk ribbon. I hid it in my office for 4 months. I made dinner reservations at the restaurant where we had our first date. Requested the same table. Bought his favorite wine, the Pinot Noir from the vineyard we visited on our honeymoon. White peonies, the ones he always stops to admire but says are overpriced. Everything planned, everything intentional, everything, I thought, thoughtful. When we got home that night, he seemed happy. He thanked me for remembering the restaurant. He kissed my cheek when he saw the flowers. We sat on the couch with wine. I handed him the box. He untied the ribbon slowly, like he always does, careful not to tear it. He lifted the necklace out, and his face changed. What is this? It's the necklace from the craft fair, I said softly. The one you said was beautiful. He set it down like it was contaminated. I don't want this. I blinked. You were holding it up to the light. You said maybe someday. That was months ago. I was being polite to the vendor. You picked it up 3 times, because I didn't want to be rude. The stone's the wrong color for me, he continued. The chain's too delicate. I'd never wear this. My chest tightened. You literally said, that's what you say when you're browsing. How do you not know that? The shift was so fast it made me dizzy. So what do you actually want? I asked. He stood. I want you to pay attention. To know me well enough that you don't have to guess. But you always get it wrong. The words were measured, calm, almost clinical. You don't know me at all. And then he threw it. Not gently. Actually threw it. Every birthday. Every anniversary, he continued, voice rising. I have to pretend to be grateful for things I don't want because you're too clueless to figure out what I actually like. You could tell me, I said quietly. I shouldn't have to. The room felt smaller. I went back to that market specifically for you, I said. I made reservations somewhere that matters to us. I bought the wine we had on our honeymoon. That's the wrong effort, he snapped. It doesn't count if you're trying at the wrong things. Lazy. Clueless. Wrong. The pattern echoed. Valentine's Day, wrong watch. Anniversary, wrong weekend getaway. Christmas, wrong headphones. Always almost, never enough. I stood up. Okay, I said. Okay, he scoffed. That's it? You've made it very clear how you feel. I want you to apologize. For what? For not putting in real effort. That was the moment something in me stopped arguing. Not exploded, not shattered, just went quiet. In my office, I opened the drawer where I'd been keeping a folder for 6 months. The documents had started after the Valentine's Day incident, when he'd screamed for 40 minutes because I bought the wrong shade of leather strap for his watch. I told myself then I was overreacting. Love requires patience, compromise, growth. I opened the folder. Separation agreement, asset summary, drafted by my attorney. All it needed was signatures and notarization. I'm a licensed notary for my consulting work. My hand didn't shake. That surprised me. I signed, stamped, dated. Then I remembered something else. The Lexus. 3 years ago, for our anniversary, I bought him a silver Lexus, fully loaded. He'd once mentioned liking how they looked. I paid cash. Title in my name. We never transferred joint ownership. He'd meant to, never did. It doesn't matter, he'd said. What's yours is mine anyway. I went to the filing cabinet, pulled the registration. As of 4 p.m. that afternoon, ownership was updated. Solely me. Authorized driver removed. I placed the registration neatly on the kitchen island. Then I slept in the guest room. He cried in our bedroom. I stared at the ceiling. For the first time in 9 years, I didn't feel like I was failing. Sunday morning. He walked into the kitchen at 8:30. He saw me. He saw the document. What's this? Look at it. He picked it up. Color drained from his face. What did you do? I corrected an oversight. The car's registered exclusively to me now. You can't do that. I did. That's my car. It was a gift, I said evenly. One you've complained about 17 times. Too big, wrong model, bad mileage, uncomfortable seats. His mouth opened, closed. I kept track. You're being vindictive. I'm being clear. How am I supposed to get to work? Bus, Uber, bike, carpool. This is insane. Is it? I met his eyes. You threw my gift at me and told me I don't know you. If I don't know you well enough to buy jewelry, I certainly don't know you well enough to give you a car. He started crying. Real tears. But something in me had already stepped back. This wasn't about transportation. This was about 9 years of being graded. And I was done taking exams I never signed up for. He wiped his face with the back of his hand like he was embarrassed to be crying in front of me. Catherine, this is cruel. No, I said calmly. Cruel is throwing someone's gift at them and calling them lazy. He let out a sharp laugh. You're blowing this up over a necklace. Over a pattern, I corrected. The kitchen still smelled faintly of the peonies. The wine glasses from the night before were still on the coffee table. Everything looked normal. Nothing was. You removed me as an authorized driver, he said again, staring at the registration like it might change back if he blinked hard enough. You're threatening me with auto theft? I'm clarifying ownership. He shook his head. This isn't you. That almost made me smile. No, this wasn't the version of me he was used to. The one who apologized. The one who tried harder. The one who said, next time I'll do better. This is exactly me, I said quietly. You just haven't met her before. 10 minutes later, his sister called. I answered on speaker. What the hell is wrong with you? Jennifer's voice exploded through the kitchen. Good morning to you too. Mark told me what you did. You took his car? It's my car. It was a gift. So was the necklace he threw at me. That's not the same thing. Why? I asked evenly. Because his hurt feelings matter and mine don't? Jennifer scoffed. You're punishing him. I'm protecting myself. From what? A fight? From spending another decade being told I'm not enough. There was a pause. He didn't mean it like that. He's meant it for years, I replied. He just finally said it clearly. Jennifer lowered her voice. You're going to lose your marriage over pride. I looked at the registration still in his hand. No, I said. I'm ending my marriage because I finally believe what he's been telling me. I hung up. 20 minutes later, he knocked on my office door. Can we talk? About what? Fixing this. I opened the door. His eyes were red. Mascara streaks from crying weren't there, obviously, but his face had that same wrecked expression I'd seen once before. At our wedding, when he cried during his vows. Back then, I thought those tears meant devotion. Now I wasn't sure what they'd meant at all. You really drafted separation papers? He asked. Yes. Over this? No, I said, because of this. He stared at me like I'd started speaking another language. I was frustrated, he said. I didn't mean it. You meant it? I didn't mean it literally. That's worse. He blinked. How is that worse? Because if you didn't mean it literally, then you said it just to hurt me. Silence. He sat down on the floor outside my office door, back against the wall. What do you want from me? Nothing. That's not fair. It's the point. He looked up at me. So you're just giving up? I gave up trying to be enough for someone determined to find fault. He swallowed. If I apologize, can I have the car back? There it was. Not how do I fix this? Not how do I understand you? The car. You'd be apologizing to get transportation, I said. Not because you understand what you did. That's not true. Then tell me what you understand. He hesitated. I hurt your feelings. That's it? I asked. I was harsh. Yes. And you overreacted. I almost laughed. There it is, I said softly. You still think I'm the unreasonable one. He ran a hand through his hair. You're filing for separation. Over a birthday present. I'm filing because I'm tired. He looked at me like that was incomprehensible. Sunday night, we barely spoke. Monday morning, I filed the paperwork. When I came home that evening, he was sitting at the kitchen table. He'd cleaned up the broken dishes from the day before. I called out sick, he said quietly. I nodded. He stood. I made dinner. The smell hit me then. My favorite pasta. The one with homemade sauce his grandmother taught him to make. He only made it on special occasions. The irony wasn't subtle. We sat down across from each other. I've been thinking, he began, about what you said, about the pattern. I waited. You're right. I've been critical. I didn't realize how much. That was new. Not defensive, not dismissive. Just acknowledgement. I want to go to counseling, he continued. Figure out why I do that. That's good, I said. You'll come with me? No. He frowned. Why not? Because this isn't a couple's issue. This is a you issue. His fork froze halfway to his mouth. But we're married. We're separated. The word landed between us like a dropped plate. You didn't. I filed this morning. The fork slipped from his fingers, clattering against the plate. Red sauce splashed onto the white tablecloth. You actually filed. Yes. His voice broke. 9 years, Catherine. I know. Over something this small? It was never small. He leaned back in his chair like the air had been knocked out of him. You planned this. I prepared, I corrected. There's a difference. So the necklace wasn't even the real issue. No, I said quietly. It was confirmation. Confirmation of what? That you don't respect me. His eyes flashed. That's not true. Then why is nothing I do ever right? He didn't answer. The pasta went cold between us. And for the first time, I realized something terrifying. If he had simply said thank you, and meant it, none of this would be happening. Tuesday morning, his father called. I almost didn't answer. But I did. I hear you're divorcing my son, he said without preamble. That's correct. Over what exactly? Ask him. I'm asking you. I looked out the kitchen window at the driveway, at the empty space where the Lexus used to sit before I moved it into a rented storage unit the night before. He spent 9 years telling me nothing I do is good enough, I said calmly. I finally believed him. A scoff. Marriage is hard. You don't just quit. I didn't quit. I endured. You're overreacting. That's interesting, I replied, because when he called me lazy and clueless, no one told him he was overreacting. Silence. He loves you, his father said finally. He loves the idea of being understood without having to communicate. That's not the same thing. You're making a mistake. Maybe, I said, but it's mine to make. He hung up. I blocked his number, then his mother's, then Jennifer's. I was done being managed by a committee. Wednesday, Mark moved into the guest room. We passed each other like polite roommates. He stopped trying to argue. That worried me more than the shouting had. When someone stops fighting, it usually means they've shifted strategies. Thursday afternoon, he was served at work. He came home furious. You actually did it, he said, waving the envelope in the air. I told you I did. I thought you'd calm down. I'm not emotional, I said evenly. I'm decisive. He stared at the papers. Irreconcilable differences? Yes. Because I didn't like a necklace? Because you don't like anything. That's not fair. It's documented. His jaw tightened. You've been building a case against me. I've been documenting patterns. That's the same thing. No, I said. Building a case is revenge. Documenting patterns is preparation. For what? For the day I finally stopped convincing myself this was normal. He dropped onto the couch. I thought we'd grow old together. We grew apart instead. Not like this. It's been like this for years, I said quietly. You just didn't notice because I kept smoothing it over. Friday night, he tried a softer approach. I looked at the necklace again, he said carefully. It's actually really nice. It's in the trash. His eyes widened. You threw it away? You threw it at me. That's petty. That's closure. He exhaled sharply. Fine. Counseling, individual therapy. I'll work on gratitude, on communication, on whatever you need. The language sounded rehearsed, too structured, too polished, like someone had advised him. I don't need anything, I said. You need a husband who's trying. I needed one 9 years ago. He stared at me, like he couldn't quite decide whether I was bluffing. I wasn't. 2 weeks later, we met with lawyers. 3 hours in a glass conference room that smelled faintly of toner and stale coffee. His attorney argued he should get the house. Mr. Whitmore has contributed to the home by living in it and maintaining it. My attorney slid the deed across the table. Purchased by me 3 years before marriage. Paid off. Sole title holder. His attorney pivoted. Retirement accounts. Most accumulated before marriage. The marital portion would be split fairly. But it wasn't the number Mark had hoped for. Then came the Lexus. It was a gift, his lawyer insisted. My attorney produced the updated registration. Transferred before filing. Legal. Binding. Mark's shoulders slumped. By the end, he would receive a modest settlement, around $20,000 from shared assets, and 30 days to vacate the house. That was it. In the hallway afterward, he turned to me. You've thought of everything. I had 6 months. His expression shifted. Not anger. Not sadness. Recognition. You were already halfway out the door. I was waiting, I said, to see if anything changed. And it got worse. He looked down at his hands. So the necklace really didn't matter. It mattered, I said softly, just not the way you think. How then? It was the moment I realized you meant it. Meant what? That I'm never enough for you. He opened his mouth, closed it. For once, there was no clever rebuttal, no technical correction, no reframing, just silence. And in that silence, I felt something strange. Not triumph, not revenge, relief. He moved out exactly 28 days later, not 30, 28. as if leaving 2 days early would somehow prove he wasn't being forced. The movers came on a gray Tuesday morning. I stayed upstairs in my office while they carried boxes past the window, his books, his clothes, the framed photos he chose to take. He left the wedding album. I noticed that later. The Lexus never came back to the driveway. I'd already decided to sell it. Too many arguments had happened inside that car. Too many wrong turns, literal and metaphorical. When the door finally shut behind him, the house didn't echo the way I expected. It exhaled. Word spread quickly. Mutual friends divided themselves like it was a schoolyard draft. At first, most sided with him. Because his version was cleaner, she divorced me over a birthday present. It sounded absurd. It sounded dramatic. It made me sound unstable. A few friends called me directly. "Tell me what really happened," one of them said. So I showed them. Screenshots of texts. "This isn't really my style. Why would you think I'd like this? You always miss the mark." Emails detailing how I'd misread him again. Notes I'd kept. Dates, occasions, comments. A pattern. Undeniable when stacked together. Some friends went quiet after that. A couple apologized. One admitted, "I always thought he was too critical, but I didn't want to interfere." That sentence lingered with me. Didn't want to interfere. How often do we watch slow erosion and call it personality? His family never softened. His mother sent a final message before I blocked her permanently. "You'll regret this when you're alone." I stared at that sentence for a long time. Alone. As if that were a threat. As if being constantly diminished was better than solitude. The divorce finalized 6 weeks after filing. Clean, efficient, emotionally brutal. He moved into a small apartment across town. I heard through mutual acquaintances that he was taking the bus to work, complaining about it, saying public transportation was beneath him. Another thing I should have known. The $20,000 settlement would last him a few months if he was careful. After that, he'd have to adjust, just like I had. I repainted the living room, moved the couch, changed the art, donated the dining set we'd picked together. Every adjustment felt like reclaiming oxygen. The house stopped feeling like a performance space. No more wondering if the lighting was wrong, if dinner was wrong, if conversation was wrong. I didn't realize how tense my body had been for years until it finally relaxed. One night, I found myself sitting on the kitchen floor, the same spot where he'd cried about the car, and I didn't feel anger. I felt clarity. This was never about jewelry. It was about being evaluated instead of loved. A week after the divorce finalized, I listed the Lexus for sale. A man came to test drive it. "Beautiful car," he said, "hardly used." I almost laughed. Hardly appreciated. When it sold, I felt lighter than I expected. Objects can carry arguments inside them. Memories have weight. 2 months later, I started dating again. Nothing serious. Coffee, walks, conversations. It felt strange at first, like learning to speak after years of whispering. On my third date with a man named Daniel, we went to dinner downtown. Nothing fancy. Just a quiet Italian place with candlelight and uneven brick walls. Afterward, he walked me to my car. As I unlocked it, he glanced at my wrist. "I like your watch," he said casually. "It suits you. Classic." It was such a small comment. Almost nothing. But it hit me harder than I expected. 9 years of marriage. And Mark had never once complimented something I chose. Not my clothes, not my haircut, not the way I redesigned the bathroom, not the consulting firm I built from scratch. Never. Daniel didn't know that. He wasn't trying to heal anything. He just noticed and appreciated. Later that night, I sat alone in my living room, the walls freshly painted, the air quiet, the furniture arranged exactly how I wanted it. Some people still think I overreacted, that I chose the nuclear option over a necklace. But the necklace was just the catalyst. The registration on the kitchen island was the moment I stopped negotiating my worth. The moment I stopped begging to pass a test I never signed up for. Mark will tell people I'm cold, that I ended a marriage over pride. Maybe that's the story he needs. Mine is simpler. When someone throws your love back at you and calls you inadequate, believe them. I finally did. 6 months later, I ran into Mark by accident. Of course it would be at a grocery store. Of course it would be in the wine aisle. He looked thinner. Not dramatically, just sharper around the edges, like something had been sanded down. "Catherine." His voice carried that familiar mix of confidence and caution. "Mark." There was a small basket in his hand. Discount label pasta, store-brand sauce, a bottle of something cheap. I noticed. I didn't comment. "How have you been?" he asked. "Good." It wasn't defensive, it wasn't performative. It was true. He nodded, glancing at my cart. Fresh flowers. Ingredients for a dinner I planned to cook for myself. A decent bottle of wine. "I've been thinking," he said. That used to be the beginning of an argument. Now it just sounded tired. About us, he continued. About what you said. About patterns. I waited. I didn't realize how much I criticized, he admitted. My therapist pointed it out. Therapist. So he'd followed through. That's good, I said honestly. He shifted his weight. I keep replaying that night. The necklace. It wasn't about the necklace, I said. I know that now. There was a long pause. You were right, he added quietly. I didn't respect the effort. I was always looking for what was missing instead of what was there. Hearing him say it months too late felt strange. Not satisfying. Not vindicating. Just distant. I hope you figure out why, I said. I'm trying. He hesitated. Are you seeing someone? I thought of Daniel's quiet smile. The way he said thank you when I paid for coffee one afternoon without making it a power struggle. The way he listened without correcting. Yes, I said. Mark nodded slowly. Is he better at reading your mind? There it was. The reflex. The old framing. I almost smiled. He doesn't have to, I replied. He communicates. Mark let out a breath that might have been a laugh. Fair. We stood there a moment longer, suspended between who we were and who we are now. I really did love you, he said finally. I know, I answered. And you don't regret it? I thought about the house, the quiet, the absence of tension in my shoulders, the way my heart no longer raced before birthdays or holidays. No, I said, I don't. He nodded once. Take care of yourself, Catherine. You too. And that was it. No dramatic exit, no final monologue. Just two people who finally understood each other, too late to stay married. That night, Daniel came over for dinner. I cooked. He brought dessert. We ate at my kitchen table, the new one I chose without negotiation. Halfway through the meal, I apologized. For what? He asked. For the pasta. I'm not sure the sauce reduced enough. He blinked. Catherine, he said gently, it's great. I laughed. I'm working on not preemptively criticizing myself. Who taught you to do that? I considered the question. No one teaches it directly. It grows in environments where love feels conditional. I'm unlearning it, I said instead. He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Good. Simple, warm, uncomplicated. After he left, I cleaned up slowly. No tension. No replaying conversations in my head. No bracing for critique. Just quiet. People still ask me if I overreacted. If I should have tried counseling first. If I could have been more patient. More forgiving. Maybe. But patience without reciprocity becomes self-erasure. Forgiveness without change becomes permission. I gave 9 years. 9 years of trying to decode preferences. 9 years of adjusting. 9 years of being told I missed the mark. The birthday gift didn't end my marriage. The registration on the kitchen island did. That was the moment I stopped asking someone else to confirm my value. The moment I decided that being almost right in someone else's eyes was no longer my life's purpose. Mark will eventually tell a softer version of the story. One where we grew apart. One where it was bad timing. One where it was miscommunication. And maybe that's partially true. But here's the truth I live with. When someone consistently treats your effort like failure, you start shrinking. I stopped shrinking. The necklace is gone. The Lexus is gone. The marriage is gone. What's left is something steadier. A house that feels like mine. A life that isn't graded. A love that doesn't require mind reading. I'm 37. Divorced. Starting over. And for the first time, I'm not trying to be enough for someone else. I'm simply being enough for myself.